Hi folks, I'm Devok and welcome to the Artificers Guild, the home of all things Artifact. A whole load of things to cover today. As I'm sure many of you are aware, we finally got a beta date, and we received it partway through a stream that was revealing 9 new cards and 2 new heroes as well. So we will cover the cards in this video, but firstly, the big news. Beta when? Last night we were happily enjoying some card reveals when I noticed our Discord group talking about Artifact being added to their Steam libraries if they'd gone to TI and linked their account. This got us all pretty hype about it, as we were basically expecting the beta to drop then. However, these same people were then sent some mysterious email from Valve. This email notified them of Artifact being added to their library and listed a beta date, the 19th of November. So we aren't getting the beta for another whole month, and the community is a little annoyed at this, and rightly so. Gabe Newell himself announced an October beta, but with the prevalence of Valve time in the company's history, can we really be that surprised? Besides, there is a silver lining to this. From what we can gather from the closed beta as it stands currently, I've not heard of any bugs. The meta seems to be relatively balanced, and there are provisions for both limited and constructed players. So if the game is already this put together, then why the delay? Well, there can really only be 2 reasons, and both of them are pretty awesome. The first, and perhaps less enticing to the masses, is Valve loves to polish the hell out of their games. If they aren't happy with how all the animations work, or there is a user interface that isn't quite perfect, you can bet your bottom dollar that they'll clean that up before they let the masses see their game. The other option, and perhaps the more exciting one, is that Valve don't just want more people to test what's already been tested. It works, and they know it. What they want to do is now bring in even more features, run it past the smaller group in the closed beta for now, and then get everyone in to effectively stress test the darn thing a week before the release. So what extra things might we be getting? There are a few extra bits that I can think of. For starters, we heard a while back that there used to be a training mode in the game. That basically has to come back before they let a bunch of new players, who perhaps don't have a history with card games or Dota, into the beta. But after that, we could take this in any direction you can possibly think of. Card games are usually quite solitary games, so will they somehow be encouraging us to band together in some sort of clan or house system? It certainly would fit the bill for what they've been looking at with the houses of the wise, cunning, bold and dreamers so far. If it isn't encouraging us to group up, then one thing that many games lack from day one is some sort of ranked system. Are we going to be getting the auto tournament system from the get-go? None of the beta testers have been talking about automated tournaments, just the ones that Valve have been organising themselves. So is the beta delayed in order to get the ranked tournament system ready for launch? I'd be perfectly alright with that. Let me know in the comments below what you think the extra development time is being spent on. And extra points for not being salty. So with the beta news out of the way, let's get into these 8 new cards. As we aren't doing a top 10 this week, let me start with the card that I think was best, or at least the most interesting. The card is Cheating Death, a green 5 mana improvement, which has the following effect. If there is an allied green hero in this lane, allies have a 50% chance of surviving with 1 health when they would die. Dubbed as the one true counter to Annihilation, Cheating Death seems like the worst case of RNG in the game so far. But even with that being said, there is definitely a controlled element to it. Every colour, except for maybe green themselves, seems to have access to great hero killing cards. Black has coup de grace, and yes, I know that's not how you say it, I literally don't care at this point. Red has Duel or Berserker's Cool. Blue has a shed load of spells that are great at killing heroes. So with the option to simply kill off the green hero, stopping this card from working, I think it isn't as game breaking as the community seems to think. Especially with the improvement Condemn seeming pretty prevalent in Artifact. Our next new card is another green defensive option. Defend the Weak is a 2 mana green spell that lets you modify a unit with this unit's allied neighbours have +2 armour. So this is effectively a 2 mana green spell, turn this unit into Treant Protector, right? That's pretty awesome. 2 armour is important as it blocks out creep damage, so putting this on your hero of any colour will protect the units either side from creep damage. In fringe cases, this could also be used on a creep to grant its neighbouring hero 2 armour, potentially saving it in the nick of time, but this will likely be a niche case. Overall, I like the card. I'm not sure it will get too much play in the more fast-paced constructed scene, but a good card for draft. Also, just look at those adorable creeps. Alexa is no longer the only cute radiant creep. Fog of War is a 4 mana blue spell, which reads, each enemy has a 50% chance of being disarmed this round. At 4 mana, this card just won't see play. 4 mana is the most highly contested mana cost, and in blue you have far better options that will offer a whole lot more consistency over this RNG. I think this card will only see use if it works more like Tidehunter's ability, right? Where your target, or target and neighbours, definitely get disarmed, and then there's a 50% chance for the others to get disarmed. This card strikes me as a little strange. In a game where they've added a level of control to all of the RNG, here is one card with a potentially obvious way to make it controllable that simply hasn't been implemented. Oh well, at least it's RNG hindering the user. When RNG benefits the one using it, there is much more potential for rage-inducing moments. So it's got that going for it at least. We'll never see it played. Our next card is Fractured Timeline, a 2-mana blue improvement that reads, before the action phase, give a random card in your opponent's hand +1 lock. We are seeing more and more lock cards as we move forward, although the team who revealed this card suggested that it might be the final lock card. Even so, with 3 copies of these 3 lock cards, you could quite easily conceive of a lock deck, where you effectively stop your opponent from being able to use all of their resources. We have also heard that lock stacks though, so rather than blocking your opponent's entire hand, you might just be perma-locking one useless card. But I guess that's the risk you have to take when using a meme mechanic such as this. The only item of the bunch is Jasper Daggers, a 7 gold weapon that gives the equipped hero +2 attack and pierce. Just as Fog of War contested for the most typical mana cost, I feel like Jasper Daggers is competing for the 7 gold slot. With Blink Dagger, Blade of the Vigil and Keenfolk Musket, just to name a few of the other items you could get, you start to paint a picture as to why this card might not see too much play. Each of those cards offers the same +2 attack, but a far less conditionally good effect. Whereas if you aren't against a mono red deck, you might as well just spend 3 gold on a short sword instead of these daggers. It is nice to see the Jasper Circle getting dropped into the game though, and I'm certainly looking forward to learning more about these small groups of people of the Dota world through Artifact. Our next card is Marifel Brawler, a 6-mana red creep with 6 attack, 0 armor, and 16 health. That is a big number. 16 health? That's trumped only by Tidehunter, Thunderhide Alpha, and Revtel Convoy, at least so far. My worry for this card in Constructed is that control is pretty common, and cards such as Slay will get a huge amount of value out of killing this Goliath. However, in draft or limited formats, where the enemy might have only been able to get 1 Slay, or maybe they didn't get one at all, this card gets a lot better. In fact, with it being quite creep based in draft, from what we hear, it wouldn't surprise me if this card was an instant pick for those formats. Dresden Standards is a 4-mana red spell that reads, modify a red hero with, after you play a red card, give this hero and its allied neighbours +1 attack and +1 armor this round. While the buff of attack and armor only lasts this round, the card's saving grace is that the entire thing is persistent, just like the red heroes you would put it on. So slap this on your red hero and each turn when you go to cast a red spell, you will get that armor and attack bonus. As we've said for many cards though, I don't see the potential of this card in Constructed. It gets most of its value out of buffing creeps either side of your hero, and creeps are apparently far less important in those Constructed formats. So we're left with another draft mode card, where this will represent a decent amount of tempo for you, enough for it to claim the 4-mana slot, which is actually far less of a fight for in red, but still relatively contested as the deck of a whole. Our next and final card is Watchtower, a 1-mana blue improvement that reads, whenever an enemy improvement enters this lane, draw a card. Finally, we get to my winner this week. Oh wait, this isn't a top 10, is it? So why did I leave this card till the end? Oh, that's right, because it's the single worst card in the game so far. Draw a card when an improvement enters the lane, an enemy improvement at that. Now, there are a lot of good improvements in the game, and you can probably predict which lane your opponent will want to put a decent number of those in, but this has to be played before those cards for the value of it, which means the enemy can just change their mind and barrel down a different lane. And that is if you come up against a deck with improvements at all. What if it's a mono red deck and they're just full of improvement condemn, and maybe with 1 MX Arena at mana 6? I personally don't see this card getting picked in draft or Constructed. Just use a Pot of Greed instead. Thanks for watching this folks, and feel free to vent about the beta date in the comments below, or leave messages of goodwill to help those poor souls who spent upwards of $200 on a key just for 9 days of access. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out. I have been Divok of the Artificers Guild, and I will see you next time.